Hello friends, today I wanted to take you on a tour of the garden and how well it's doing. It's been planted for 2 months now, and I actually considered filming yesterday, and I probably should have because last night when my husband came home from work he discovered about 24 chickens in the garden. So I'm going to start over here and just walk you through everything. This is the cabbage and raspberry planter, and I do have onions behind. My best cabbage, what I felt was my best cabbage, the chickens got.
Kill the rabbit, kill the rabbit, kill the rabbit. Kill the rabbit.
You guys remember that cartoon? That's actually a song that my husband and I have sang quite a few times because we've had lots of problems with rabbits over the years. But of course, this time it was the chickens. So we were singing Kill the Chickens, in a funny way, I guess. But they got my onions too. And the onions were probably pretty easy for them because if you know anything about onions, you want to plant them really close to the surface. That's how you get big onions. So they were probably pretty easy for them to dig up. The marionberries are doing amazing, and you can see everything is just doing really, really well. So what I decided to do was just maybe try to replant some of these plants and water them in really well and see if they survive. What I find really ironic is in the fall, when we've let the chickens in this garden to have their way with whatever's left over, they never get in the beds. They always just eat the grass and dig up the grass. So I found this really ironic. So these are the beets, and they did dig up a few of the beets too. So I'm just going to water them in and hopefully they'll survive. That actually really irritated me too because the beets are doing so good. And I just thinned them out not very long ago, and like I said, they were just doing really good. So they did get in here next to these peppers, but luckily they just kind of scratched up the dirt. So I'm just gonna go through, like I said, water everything, and I like to aerate the soil too. So I'm just gonna aerate everything and make sure there's no weeds around anything, just to give them a really good start. So they did get into my lettuce and kale. We had just planted some more lettuce right to the right here. Okay, so you guys might not even recognize this area. That was some marigolds right in front of my peas, and they are doing so good. Actually, Mike has been out here eating a few of them. I planted 2 different varieties, and I can't really remember which ones I planted. And I planted one on the back and then some others on this area here. So I know one was snap peas, which my husband really likes. And I got peppers, and there's a pepper growing right there. Like I said, the chickens did get into this area, so I'm just gonna make sure everything's aerated and smoothed back out because they've dug little holes everywhere. This is the Brussels sprouts, and I've got 6 Brussels sprout plants. And then that's that heirloom zucchini, and it's doing great. So these are my other zucchini plants. I'm not sure. I think they might be like Black Beauty or something. They are getting blossoms on them. And the beans over here are doing fantastic. They're growing really good. And I'm really happy with how fast this arbor's filling out. So there's more Brussels sprouts on this side. It's kind of a row of them. And you can see the beets here.
Now who's
who's responsible for this unwarranted attack on my person?
Yeah, kind of describes how I feel. I'm just so irritated with those chickens. This is the second time they've gotten into the garden. Not this garden, we have a separate area. But anyway, on with the tour. This is the lettuce and cabbage, or lettuce and kale area. And you can see a couple marigolds in the front. They ate them. Marigolds. Like, I didn't know chickens liked marigolds, but that's where we had the extra lettuce planted, or the new row. So I'm going to actually take you around this other side and show you. We put up a new fence for my cucumbers to kind of shade the lettuce. The lettuce likes to be, it's a cool season crop. So right there was peppers. They demolished them. Those beans I had to replant 3 times, so that's why they're so small. And the artichokes are really doing good this year. So all the artichokes are on the old, like last year's plant, but they're doing great. I've got more beans on this side. They had to be replanted twice, and that's from birds. The birds were stealing the little sprouts. So my strawberry plants are doing amazing this year. Unbelievable. So happy with those. And actually I need to pick some before they go bad. We've had so many strawberries this year. I've made 2 strawberry shortcakes, and I've been freezing the rest. Like I said, we've just gotten so many berries this year, and actually I just pulled some of the starts and took them over to the neighbors. They're just starting their garden, so. But look at the size of those berries. They're just amazing this year. So over on the other side of the arbor, I have some beans growing too with the sweet peas. And there's also some nasturtium growing in there. And I've got onions. My tomato plants are huge already. And I've got asparagus growing in here for the first year. And they're starting to come up. I'm happy about that. We've also got some cucumbers and more peas growing over here on this little fence. And yeah, the tomatoes, I've got 2 cherry tomatoes, one traditional red and one's a yellow. And then I've got an early girl and I think like a beef steak. And I've got a pretty good sized tomato starting over here. And here's the other side. You can see the nasturtium starting to bloom. And I've got tons of sweet pea seeds. So I'll probably pull some of those for the neighbors too. Actually, I didn't plant any nasturtium this year, but those are all volunteers, and there's some over by the cabbage too. So it's really good in salads. It's like a very peppery leaf. So this is my more of a flower bed. I do have blueberries starting in here, and look at the size of this fennel. It's just unbelievably huge this year. And my son's supposed to come up today actually and finish putting that cedar around the beds. I'm so happy that that's getting done. This is actually the flower from parsley, and I just let it go because I really love using the flower, the seeds, in flower bouquets. So little garden visitor there. And I have lavender kind of sprinkled throughout the yard. But yeah, it's mostly roses in this planter. So yeah, it's everything's coming up really nice. The wisteria is actually starting to bloom for a second time this year. And I love how wisteria smells, and it's just so pretty. But yeah, we had to replant on this other side over here because the chickens had gotten in there and they had eaten everything. So we've got tons of sunflowers, like the mammoth sunflowers. We've got pumpkins and corn and cattle beans. I think he's got peas planted in there, and it's mostly pumpkins and corn. And I do think there's quite a bit of cattle beans in there too. Cattle beans are the kind of brown and white spotted beans, and they're so easy to grow, and you can use them for anything, any sort of bean dish. They're great. And they're like a bush bean. They don't climb anything. So, although I do think he may have some Cherokee beans in there that do climb. They're the pole beans, the Cherokee pole beans. They do climb the corn. So I will keep you guys updated on the garden because you've asked. So everything's doing great. I'll probably do another tour later in the season, maybe next month or so, and then another one in the fall. But hopefully the next tour, the planter beds will be finished. So this is a flower bed that's in front of the house, and I wanted to show you the hydrangeas. The colors are beautiful. Those are kind of a blue with little hints of purple around the edges. And this middle one, which is a lace cap, is very purple. And then I've got a pink one over here. So the pink one is the only one that I didn't put coffee grounds on. So if you want blue hydrangeas, save your coffee grounds and sprinkle them around the edges. These are my favorite colored hydrangeas, and honestly, you guys can't even see really the beauty of the color. It's more of a periwinkle blue. I do put coffee grounds on these every year, and they're getting bigger, and they're in my shade garden, kind of on the edge, and it's just a very beautiful, peaceful place to sit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tour of how the garden's doing this early July. Thanks for joining me today. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.